Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. Z, you early today? Z, could you make up your mind? Could you be late or be early, but not be early sometimes and late sometimes? Right? So, we're going to review BGS and his covering of, or at least the beginning half of the Larry Elder conversation on the Breakfast Club. Masterful job as usual from BGS. Also, we're going to be speaking lightly about Dr. Green Gorilla in his conversation, essentially about some of the brothers in the Black Manosphere kind of pathologizing Black people also. Yeah, out of context and definitely not, giving all the history and all the truth, right? So, um, yeah, y'all see the title, right? America, Larry Elder, and pathologizing Black people / Black men, right? So, the definition of pathologizing: regard or treat (parentheses someone or something) regard right. And so that's what we've been getting, um, from Mr. Larry Elder, even from some brothers in the Black Manosphere. Um, Gigi's anger was warranted. I mean, listen to some of the brothers in the Black Manosphere with the bootstrap bros talk, right? Out of context, right? I've said it before. No other group of people in America has really pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. None. Like zero, zilch, nada. None. Right? So we got to be careful when we're speaking like this. I get it. Right? I also wanted to kind of put a funny in there. For a good minute, it was nothing but the Midwestern congregation, right? Right? You have Gigi from the Midwest, Rogish from the Midwest, right? G is from the Midwest, so we had the Midwestern congregation up there for a minute on Gigi's panel, right? So, covering Larry Elder again, and I'm probably going to do another part to this. I guess it'll be part 3 on the Larry Elder conversation when BGS does his part 2, and then there's going to probably be a part 4 when Green Gorilla covers Larry Elder, right? I find this part of the conversation absolutely fascinating, right? So yeah, so and I'm glad we're talking politics and policies, in history, and we ain't really talking about like that. The women. Shout out to all of you that think that all we do is talk in the Black Manosphere, talk about the women and how they ain't ish, right? It's a couple of panels now that ain't really mentioned the women, if at all, and if they did, it was in passing, right? So once again, that's great. Um, you know, Larry Elder starts off the conversation on the Breakfast Club with Black men abandoning their financial and moral responsibility, and the government incentivizing bad behavior among the women. Once again, Black women in a vacuum, right? He speaks this way, and we understand, you know, the lying by omission, which Larry Elder, he engaged in that a whole lot of lying by omission, right? The way he described California school system. Mr. Z is from the South. We're gonna address the Haitian. As a matter of fact, we should address the Haitian comment now, right? I didn't do that the time before. I guess we'll do it now. Yeah. So Monroe Doctrine, America, always being entangled in Haitian politics. Yeah, Haitian migration. Haitian migration. That rhymes. Is mainly due to American interventionism, American intervention in Haiti's politics, in Haiti's electoral process, right? But which both Democrat and Republican presidents have participated in. Literally, the recent assassination of a Haitian president We still don't really know who's really in there, or who really had something to do with it. But it's looking like all roads lead back to America, allegedly, right? Mrs. You don't want to get in trouble by anybody important. Allegedly, right? So BGS brings up neoliberalism, right, which both Democrats and Republicans participate in. Um, it's really economic policies, right? And neoliberalism and social austerity measures are meant to choke out the working class and middle class and to discipline them, as we've been told by the, Professor Martin, right? That's what this is really about. These things don't exist in a vacuum. Neoliberalism is a set of economic policies that puts the market first, as if the market is all knowing, all seeing, and has no human intervention and human participation in there. Right? The way these people speak about the market is as if it's some heavenly or godly thing that we don't really know how it works, and it moves in this kind of peculiar way. Like it's not a set of people making moves and thinking about things and yawn. Right? Larry Elder speaks about school choice, which Mr. Z is not actually against, believe it or not, but understand that we're creeping into the privatization of everything, and there not being a such thing as a public good, which Mr. Larry Elder already admits, like, he doesn't vote for tax and spend liberals. Well, the Republicans haven't exactly been the best at that either, which he does a tacit agreement to. He kind of throws that out there real quick and fast, right? Right? Yeah. As I said, school choice is about privatizing schools. Slowly but surely, slow creeping and slow walking to it. And we've had a couple of Republican politicians and their aides who have said as much, right? Who have been honest about it and who have said as much, you know? Larry Elder speaks about how teaching Black history a particular way encourages Black people not to work hard, right? So he agrees with Ron DeSantis. He agrees with what's going on in Texas with the history books for high school, right? But we also saw this said by Mr. Ben Shapiro when pressed by Ezra Klein. This is what it's about. By the way, as I said before, this is not really better yet, it's not only about white kids not feeling a sense of shame or embarrassment for the actions of their ancestors. Oh no. It's also about not telling or teaching young Black students what actually happened in this country, which might be much of the reason why they find themselves and their parents find themselves, the Black parents, in the social and economic state they find themselves in, right? That's what Larry Elder was also engaging in, right? This very weird obsession from the Republicans in particular, right? And I don't care how biased I sound right now, from the Republicans in particular, with this hard work narrative, when the whole goal is to be a kept person of leisure, right? This talk about bootstraps and working hard and all those people that preach working hard, you follow them long enough You followed him, and you get to like Richard Spencer, right? Yes, Mr. Alt-Right himself, whose family is making money off of sitting on Homestead Act land. Yeah, you heard right, right? So all these people preach this hard work talk while they go on lecture circuit all around the country debating 19-year-olds like Ben Shapiro does, right? They don't mean it. They're full of crap. By the way, to Larry Elder's comment about being able to go from nothing to something faster in America than just about anywhere else, that's actually not true anymore. Uh-oh. I've said it before. Yes, they've done stuff. As a matter of fact, Brookings Institute fellow researcher Richard Reeves spoke about how social upward mobility is atrophying in America and how you might get more of that in Britain, a literal monarchy, than you get in America. Yeah, y'all heard right. Yeah, y'all heard right. Right? You might get more upward mobility in Britain, a literal monarchy, than you do in America. Right? Once again, I am highly disappointed. This is the second time, at least that I can remember, that the Breakfast Club did this. Because for those of you that remember when Rush Limbaugh was on before he died, before he passed away, right? The Breakfast Club, you thought they would have learned how many years ago was that? Like 3 years ago at this point? 3, 4 years ago? More like 3 years ago. They did the same thing when they had the conversation with Rush Limbaugh. They were not prepared, and Rush Limbaugh, practically on his deathbed, ate them alive. And they were all in the emotional talk again. And so we see them engaging that again. Right? If these are the people that are in the rooms with the Larry Elder, right? With the Rush Limbaugh, with the Bill Gates, with the Jeff Bezos, with the Mark Zuckerberg, do y'all understand the problem now? These are the people that's in the room with Chelsea Clinton. Yes, Hillary and Bill Clinton's daughter. These are the people that's in the room with them. Right? These are the people that's in the room with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. Right? These are the people. And you wonder how we get the policies or lack thereof that we get in the black community or directed towards the black community. Because these are the people. DJ Envy, Charlemagne, Lil Wayne, right? Sounding like this. Right? So also Larry Elder admits to being a MAGA candidate. He admits to being party. And it's funny because often what the left is accused of is being party over country. Meanwhile, Larry Elder is admitting that like it doesn't matter which one of us win in the Republican side as long as we get rid of Biden and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Like he admits it. First he admits to being a MAGA president. Straight or MAGA presidential candidate, better yet. He admits that. Actually, he just straight up says it. There's nothing to admit. He says it, right? Then he also pretty much says, hey, it doesn't matter which one of us. It doesn't matter which one of us becomes the presidential nominee on the right, as long as we beat Biden and Harris. Okay, fine. You know what? Cool. And he pretty much also admits that he's just running to forward these ideas. So, Mr. Z, when I wake up in the morning, hopefully, if I have, well, I'm probably not gonna have time. Hopefully, I can. When I wake up in the afternoon, I'm gonna do some research to see who's funding Larry Elder. From a lot, I tried to check a little bit earlier today, and he hasn't disclosed that information. He still hasn't disclosed his taxes, so y'all already know. Rich white conservative somewhere behind Larry Elder is some white billionaire. Put money on it. Some white conservative, racist as hell billionaire. I put money on it. Right? These are the same people that keep on talking about BLM this and BLM that and George Soros this and George Soros that. If I shake that tree that Larry Elder is finding shade under, what white billionaire is going to fall from under there or fall from that tree? Right? You know, we have to also call this for what it is. This is also a class argument. Now, I'm going to be real careful with this one. We see this great divide when we get into the conversation of pre-civil rights movement and what being black was like, right? So pre-1965-ish and what being black was like. And what we hear from the Larry Elders and even some brothers in the Black Manosphere who come from the small business class of Black America is that black people are doing straight. Black people's all right? Your need and your want, shout out to you, Jason Black, your need and your want to be approved of by white folks and to have interracial sex is the whole reason you wanted to integrate, for nothing else, right? No other reason, just that, right? You just had a super extreme low self-esteem, and that's the whole reason, right? Nothing to do with the poverty, nothing to do with segregation of the resources, that part, none of that. Nope. You just had an insatiable inferiority complex, and you wanted to be around white folks. And definitely black women wanted to be around white folks. That's not debatable. I actually agree with that part, but you know. But that's what this was all about, right? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's what this was all about. And so much of the class argument that I'm saying exists in this conversation are these particular Larry Elder types that completely ignore the rampant poverty, the borderline destitution of certain black people, you know, everybody else other than their fathers and their grandfathers, that existed in the black community. And Gigi kind of spoke to this also today. What America looked like during and after the Depression. The homelessness. The fact that your great-grandfather was emaciated as hell. You don't want to see a picture of your great-great-grandfather or your great-grandfather. You don't want to see a picture of him. He ain't going to have chubby cheeks, emaciated as hell. But nobody want to talk about that. Right? The Larry Elders of the world, because their fathers owned a small business, don't want to have that conversation about what 1930s black America looked like. Right? This is why, you know, for some, we speak about Tulsa, Oklahoma and the greatness, right? And the wealth and the institutions and the entrepreneurship, right? and what it looked like when black people come together and say we're going to do it on our own. And we don't talk about all the other places that weren't Tulsa, Oklahoma, that wasn't Rosewood, that wasn't Wilmington, right? You know, like America. Gigi pretty much stole the words right out of my mouth. This romanticization of like 1940s, 1930s Black America, like everything was straight. Yeah, just a little segregation, a little hanging here and there. You know, it ain't that serious. But once again, it depends on who are you letting speak. Who's telling the narrative about what Black America was in 1935, 1928, 1929, 1930, right? Who's telling the narrative? Is it the Larry Elder types? Then how will they paint Black America? Right? How will they paint Black America? There's a serious lack of honesty when we get into the conversation about where a Black America is currently, the advances that Black America has made, the lack of advances that Black America has made, whatever forces stand against Black America, Black men in particular, right? What each political party has contributed to the harm of Black America, once again, Black men specifically. Larry Elder also traffics in this hard truth thing, right? Oh yeah, you know, when Charlemagne asked him, why would Black people vote for you? Well, you know, I tell the hard truths, and you know. In other words, if you're a grown-up, you'll vote for me. Right? If you're a grown-up, you'll vote for me. If you just want someone to blow smoke up your rear end, then you'll vote for those Democrats that give you handouts. The unmitigated gall of Mr. Larry Elder to talk about tax and spend Democrats when the Republicans and the Democrats actually are handing out corporate handouts left and right. Right? Where were the Republicans to tell Barack Obama, oh no, let them banks fail. Oh no, there's no such thing as too big to fail banks. Oh no, let them fall. Where are Republicans for that? I'll wait. Maybe you'll find one or two. You'll find one or two. Was Mitch McConnell not there? Was John Boehner not there? Was Eric Cantor not there? Where were all of them to say, no, let them fall? Right? U.S. taxpayer money went to bailing out the banks, not just in America. Where were you? Can anybody find any op-ed or any clip of Larry Elder on his radio show saying, yeah, let him fall? Nope. There's no such thing as too big to fail. America is a meritocracy. These banks ain't merit their way into surviving this housing recession. They made too many risky bets and they deserve to fall. Let the chips fall where they need to fall. Anybody find anything on Larry Elder saying that? I'll wait. Anything. Interview, op-ed, his own radio show. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just, where is it? Tax and spin, right? Larry Elder is just another mouthpiece for some rich billionaire somewhere. Some rich white racist billionaire somewhere. And they always bring these people out to be like, yeah, put ourselves up our bootstraps and we don't need this and I'm anti-reparations, that and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then you shake that tree that they're sitting under and the white billionaires start falling from it. Their funders start falling from it. Their backers start falling from it. and it'd be the most unsavory characters you could imagine, right? The mentors. Shout out to all my Harry Potter fans, right? Train tracks, train tracks, train tracks. Larry Elder means what he says, but he's a bad actor. It's that simple. The man might have been smarter than the other two brothers on the Breakfast Club, but he's not smarter than everyone else, even as an attorney. I still think that the Breakfast Club took him way too lightly, way too lightly. They did not take him seriously. They got their heads taken off, rightfully so. But that does. The problem is American intervention? No. The fact that Haiti is one of the countries that America has intervened in its politics the most in U.S. history? No, 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 that's not a reason? Okay, all right. Right, right. And nothing to do with that. Okay, all right, just making sure. Right. Also, the right isn't being honest about why they're interested in school choice. Because I can't remember who gave up the ghost. Was it Stephen Miller? One of these aides gave up the ghost a few years ago, and just pretty much, yeah, we're gonna privatize everything, right? We don't believe that there should be such thing as public good, and we don't like that public schools want to teach our kids about, of course, black people in slavery and Jim Crow, and that white people are bad. Yeah, it always comes down to that, by the way, right? This is what I was speaking to earlier today about reading through what people are actually saying when they speak, what politicians are actually saying with their speak. When I was on the Roger Report, I was making a reference to breaking points, and so let me actually say the name and the show. I was making a reference to breaking points and Crystal Ball pressing Vivek Ramaswamy and actually getting him to admit what he actually means behind all the political jargon, right? And pressing, I can't remember what the candidate is coming out of I'm assuming the Dakotas, and getting him to admit after a while, after about 5 minutes of him ducking and dodging and weaving and tying himself into a pretzel, admitting that he wants to get rid of Social Security. But it took Crystal knowing that's what he meant and trying to hide behind political jargon and then getting him to actually admit it. That is a journalist. That is a person that understands political jargon. That is a person that you can escape. Right? Oh, my audio went out for a minute. Oh boy, I don't know what part it went out on. Oh boy. Right? Oh boy. All right. So I don't remember. Right. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. We get Mr. Z some better audio equipment. Maybe a phone with better signal and Wi-Fi. Right. So Yeah, Larry Elder just exposed himself for those of us that see it, but just be another tool for some. And I'm really gonna do the research on this. For being just another tool for some wealthy dude, and he admitted it, right? Definitely not Obama phone. If I tell you what my cell phone bill is, right? Because I'm not just paying for myself, mom and younger sister. It ain't looking good, right? So tying that to the conversation that Gigi had on his channel, and we see what it really looked like around the same era, by the way, that Larry Elder was speaking about, that his father came up in. As I said before, much of this is a class argument. And the children of the small business owners, like Larry Elder is, just refuse to see the forest through the trees. Their ideology is more important than the actual facts on the ground. They do not care about the facts on the ground. Right? They don't care. Right? The rhetoric is more important. The ideology is more important. As Mr. Larry Elder said himself, I don't vote for Texas spin liberals. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden. He said it. He said it really fast. Right? Even when he was pressed about Rudy Giuliani, what you saw was ideology, party that supersedes what might actually be beneficial for Americans in general, Black Americans specifically, Black men even more specifically. Right? Huh. Larry Elder needs to sit down if he's really about it, and let's see if he makes his way onto a platform with someone that can really press him without necessarily being too adversarial. Maybe combative, he might need that, but not too adversarial, and that knows exactly what he's saying and know where to press him and know where to have him emphasize what he means and go into detail on what he means. Right? And the young lady did actually do a good job in one respect when she pretty much got him to say the system's rigged. But he wanted to make it a very individual thing. Once again, this is the sorry brothers on the right. This is so right leaning. System? What system? There's no systemic issues. No systemic issue except for divorce court, in alimony, in child support, and the fact that the system was rigged against me in particular. Even though I had this many votes in there, but system rigged against Black people, that's a stretch, right? System rigged in this way, system rigged in that way, but not against Black people, no. When they just have to admit, these are a bunch of people that truly believe in Atlas Shrugged. For those of you that don't know the book, read it, right? And like Larry Elder knows, this is why we say he's being disingenuous. Larry Elder knows that his party is the party of Atlas Shrugged, right? What's his face admitted that who was um who was Mitt Romney's VP candidate back in what is his name is right there. I mention him all the time, and the fact that he used to have a black girlfriend in college. God damn. Oh, I forgot his face. I forgot his name. Right? He admitted like Atlas Shrugged is one of his favorite books. He said it while being the VP candidate. Right? While being the VP candidate. Paul Ryan. Thank you, AB. Paul Ryan. Right? And what is Atlas Shrugged? Atlas Shrugged. For those of you that, when I say shrug, I don't say it slow enough. Atlas Shrugged. You know what that's about? A bunch of business owners that feel like they're getting taxed too much and pretty much say, screw everything, destroy and burn the machinery on the way out the door, go find some utopia where all of them believe in some super meritocracy and they go live out a fantasy of a meritocratic order because everybody else who's not a business owner is dumb as hell and the politicians are corrupt as hell, even the smart ones. And the whole society should be run by these business owners and these uber wealthy elite pricks. And the politicians should move the hell out their way. You know who that book was written by? Right? So, and my apologies, y'all, for the pause. My apologies. But yeah, Atlas Shrugged, written by who? Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, who pretty much left Russia and did her best like PR tour in America to stay in America and talk crap about the Soviet Union. As she should, understandable, right? But wrote this book, Atlas Shrugged. And conservative Americans ate it up. Oh, we can do it and buy the, like, I want you to understand, this is like their Bible. But Larry Elder won't admit that. He won't admit the effects of neoliberalism on everyone in America, all poor working class people, middle class people in America, particularly the black community. Nope. Austerity measures, nope. H-1B visas instead of teaching your white and black kids here in America because you feel like it costs too much. NAFTA, the end of Glass-Steagall, nope. Telecom Act, nope. Because the Larry Elders of the world truly believe in big business. That's the goal. Right? Not to mention, the vast majority of them are being funded by these same people. So they're not going to speak against them. Of course not. Right? Thank you, Nameless. Atlas Shrugged is a technocratic manifesto. Right? And Nameless says she also wrote The Fountainhead, the founder of objectivism. Right? Which she wasn't. And no one truly is. Right? And Will.i.r says, and Will.i.r, you got, just like Gigi, you gotta tell us how to say your name, how to pronounce it correctly. And Will.i.r says, half the school choice issue is that private school vouchers suck tax money away from public schools. Other half of the issue is black women co-signing school emasculation of the boys. No way around it. I agree. And the left and the right have their own reasons for being for school vouchers for those people that are for school vouchers. because there's many people on the left that's also for school vouchers, right? But Larry Elder is not going to be honest about that. It's always going to be some lift yourself up by your bootstraps, and you're your own worst enemy talk. Listen to Larry Elder speak. Listen to not just what he was saying, the vigor at which he was saying it, right? The energy at which he was saying it. White racist much? White racist elitist. You can't just be poor or working class and sound like Larry Elder. Oh no. Uh-uh. Nope. Right? Look at how he advocates. A black person this anti-reparations, and yes, Barack Obama was too. Probably still is. Right? With this energy, so what Gigi did was put into context the environment that existed, right? The environment that existed for Larry Elder's youth, but also for his father's entire life. And that's why I said this is somewhat of a class issue also for those black people whose parents or grandparents or great grandparents were part of the business class of black America, the small business class of black America, and their trajectory versus the other, what, 85% of black America, and how the rhetoric is different. And much of how Larry Elder speaks is maybe we should have never integrated, right? We should have just did our own thing to the side and then enter civilization, because a lot of this is about breaking black people, because once again, my title, Pathologizing, right? Seeing black people as some type of weirdly abnormal, malignant group of people, right? And we should have never been allowed to interact with the civilized whites, breathing all the white man's air, Uncle Ruckus, right? We should have never been allowed to be near these civilized white folks because we weren't ready yet. We were not industrious enough yet, right? We weren't ready yet. Our business class hadn't fully taken hold yet. Those should have been the leaders. You listen to certain people talk, Jason Black, and these are the only people that should be interacting with white folks. All the rest of us need to shut the hell up, go sit in the back somewhere, and let the grown men talk to the white folks. Right? You let them talk long enough, right? And y'all talk amongst yourselves. Give Mr. Z 1 second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves.
On a side note, we're back. On a side note, for those of you that don't own a black car, don't do it, especially in a place that's always raining. Wash, what wash? Anyway, so Larry Elder wasn't presenting anything particularly new to us. Standard issue talking points, conservative talking points in general. You have more sensible black conservatives. We've met them. Some of them are our family members. Some of them are our friends, our associates, relatives, right? We have that. And then there's those who are lockstep with white conservatives, which means they have to adopt a particular ideology, right? They have to adopt a particular ideology and have that dual consciousness, that split consciousness, right? When it comes to black people, right? There aren't any systemic issues. And if there are, it's created by the Democrats in a vacuum, right? So Larry Elder did not speak of Reagan's war on drugs while he was over here literally with the Gucci belt and shoes, like literally being the biggest dope boy on the planet. I'm not joking, by the way. Right? Larry Elder did not speak about Reagan's war on drugs and the hypocrisy of Reagan's war on drugs. Right? He would never. He did not speak about Bush Sr. saying, read my lips, no new taxes. Meanwhile, taxes went up under what Bush Sr. what 3 times or something along those lines. Right? Larry Elder did not speak about that, nor would he. I agree with BGS. This is a brother that's been in the game for 40 something years. When you're having a conversation with someone like that, you got to come with your A game and you cannot underestimate them. You can't put them in the box with the oh, this is nothing. Right? And that's what Charlemagne and DJ Envy did. And it's clear that they don't have a really good research team, or at least their researcher was off that weekend or something along those lines, right? Because they were ill prepared. They were not prepared for Larry Elder. They were not. Charlemagne wasn't even prepared to defend systemic racism, right? And the difference between de facto and de jure racism, right? Or the companies that actually do engage in racism get caught and have to pay out. Give me a second.
Exactly, better you. They were scrambling. Dude got off some crazy shots with no problem, with no real pushback. Right? Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, I know you couldn't hear me earlier. Now you guys can hear me better. Okay, they were scrambling, and dude got off some crazy shots. Exactly, better you, with no real problem or issue. Cakewalk, right? They weren't even like they weren't even prepared for like a marginal person. let alone a person that was in the game for 40 years. Right? You do know that you can lose to a person even though even though history is on your side. You can still lose to a person in a debate who's on the wrong side of history. You can lose to a person who's on the wrong side of history because you don't know how to have a conversation. You don't know how to debate, and you don't know how to take someone seriously when you should. Right? That happens. And I'm not even saying that Charlemagne and DJ Envy were necessarily on the right side of history. What I am saying is that you can be on the right side of history and still lose a debate. Right? Because you don't know how to form a good argument, or you don't know how to defend your argument. And that matters. Right? Y'all give me a second, y'all talk amongst yourselves. Wager, or I'll wager to say that I'm more of a sensible lefty. But that's up to you guys to decide, right? I don't push my politics on brothers over here. Um, I am not about converting anyone, right? I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in evangelizing it. My particular worldview, right? But Larry Elder in particular and his brand of conservatism, right? The lying by omission, the myopic political and social worldview, right? The not being honest and sincere about how Black America got to its position, right? Even when we got into the conversation about reparations, understood what happened with the conversation about reparations, right? He first starts off by saying, well, we should go, it should be going after the chieftains, the African chieftains first. Okay, cool. And yeah, and reparations was worse, the Arab slave trade, and they castrated this and that. Okay, cool. And the young lady asked him, okay, so do you think that, well, not even do you think, after that, is it going to be okay for Black America to go after white people in America? But look, but why does it always got to be like that? Essentially what he was saying, right? What's this about? Ah, there we go. Sounded like your standard issue white conservative when they speak about reparations. Nothing different here. The question then becomes like, what's different between Larry Elder and a white conservative? Right? First of all, she had to back him into the corner. Okay, fine, cool. Okay, go after the African chieftains. Okay, cool. Arab slave trade was worse. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. After we address those things, what about white America? Right?
right? My question is sincerely for anyone, for it, for black left, black right, black centrist. What is Larry Elder saying that white conservatives don't say? If we could switch up his voice or put his voice through a synthesizer or something like that, and you couldn't tell whether he was white, black, or whatever, what would Larry Elder be proposing or saying that would let you know he's black? How does his politics differentiate from any standard white conservative when it comes to speaking about race, when it comes to speaking about economics, when it comes to speaking about family formation and how family got here, especially in a vacuum? All of it, yeah, we're not Christian enough, and yawn. Yeah, the government incentivized the women. Yeah, right. Easy to do when the business class wants more people to buy more stuff. Once again, like, it's interesting. These people swear by capitalism. They swear by capitalism and don't understand why capitalists would never want women to go back into the house. Guess why? Because married women spend less money. They never want women to go back in the home. So I will concede all type of points about how the left screwed the pooch. Oh yeah, I'll concede so many points. But when it comes to the Larry Elders of the world, they never want to have that conversation. How the capitalists were chomping on the bit, chomping at the bit, excuse me, on the bit, right? They'll never concede it. And this is why the conversation is disingenuous. It's not honest. It's not honest about how we got here. It's not honest about who's encouraging this and continuing it. The Larry Elders aren't honest about right-leaning forces that actually are benefiting from this. The consumerism and the materialism that the right pushes for the economy. Right? Particularly towards women. I've said it before. They looked at little girls back in the 80s and 90s and said, we're going to sell lifestyle to them. 40 years later, 30 years later, we're here. 30 years later, and Larry Elder will not be honest about that. Right? Speak about the government incentivizing the women to participate in bad behavior, not marry their men, divorce their men, but never speak about the corporate class selling women on a lifestyle and pretty much telling women, if your man ain't a baller and he can afford this, I mean, why are you even with him? Right? The movie industry that sold the Waiting to Excels, the book industries that sold the Color Purple, right? They're not honest about that. You don't get here with just horrid leftist policies. You get here with horrid leftist and right policies. A disgusting mix of feminism and neoliberal capitalism. An ungodly romance between the two. A toxic sludge mix. Right? This doesn't exist in a vacuum. And Larry Elder was not honest about that. Right? And the brothers on the Breakfast Club either didn't have the talent, didn't have the know-how, aren't politically astute enough to forward that to him and then have him defend that. Defend his position after you say that, right? Mr. Z is a community college dropout. I've had conversations with the brother Hot Sauce, who is a legit Harvard grad, right? Wharton School of Business grad. And I was able to forward that to him and have him be like, oh, yeah, okay, you know what, Z? I'm not a millionaire. I didn't graduate from Hampton, right? I don't live in New York, right? I didn't used to work for Wendy Williams. I'm not a syndicated DJ. By the way, I'm mixing both Charlemagne and DJ Envy's kind of career history for those of you that don't understand what Z is doing right now. And I was able to say that to Hot Sauce and have him essentially concede the point. And DJ Envy and Charlemagne the God, who have been making money for a little while now, who've been notable for a little while now, couldn't even push back on Larry Elder's simple ass points. I'm a YouTuber with barely over 2,000 subscribers. Y'all want to talk about a YouTube certified? That's Z. Yeah, I read little articles and read little clips and watch things that, reference books or reference, watch a whole bunch of lectures and documentaries. YouTube certified. And you brothers who have access, you could call up the professors. You could call up the researchers. You could call up the historians. You could call up the black philosophers. And y'all got ran by Larry Elder on easy mode. Cell form 1. Freezer form 1. Right? You see what I'm saying, Nuke? Unrestrained capitalism and unchecked feminism, gender madness. Welcome to America. Welcome to the West. Welcome to any developing country. Right? And this is what I'm saying, Nuke. They didn't have the political acumen for someone as experienced as Elder. That's all I'm saying. Right? Sometimes you have to look at a person who wins a fight, who wins a debate, who wins an argument, and ask yourself, are they that great or was their competition that trash? And sometimes it is that they're that great. Their competition was great and they were greater. They were great. They were truly great. Their competition was first class and they were just greater than their competition. And then there's other times when their competition was trash. Right? Dumpster fire. Okay, Dot, I'm gonna address that in a later stream. There was a YouTuber named Roadrunner89 Investment Newt 30, and he said black women, white men marriages last longer. What you think of this? Yeah, I've heard that also. I actually think there's numbers to kind of back that up, but it's not really put into context, right? Because we're not talking about how many black women have sex with white dudes. We're not talking about how many black women are in a relationship with white men that don't matriculate to marriage, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'll address that in a different on a different stream. Right. So, let's go through the last points again. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? And so, once again, pathologizing. Definition for pathologizing: regard or treat someone or something is in parentheses, regard or treat someone or something as pathologically abnormal or unhealthy, right? And I submit to everyone here that that's what Larry Elder was engaging in. And he actually did use the word pathologize, or pathology, better yet. He used the word pathology, right? So that's important that we think about, right? As I said earlier, Gigi's anger was warranted, right? If you listen to some of the brothers in the Black Manosphere and how they speak about Black history, Black people, how they pathologize Black people, namely Black men, so oftentimes, obviously, Black women, right? Gigi's anger was warranted. I also kind of made fun of the fact that it was nothing but Midwestern brothers on Gigi's panel for a little while, right? Rogish from the Midwest, G is from the Midwest, Green Gorilla's from the Midwest, right? I peeped that pretty much the first second when all of them were on. Once again, Larry Elder starts off the conversation pretty much throwing haymakers at the Black community, speaking about how, Black men are abandoning their financial and moral responsibility, and the government is incentivizing bad behavior amongst Black women, right? But he spoke that in a vacuum, right? I also wanted to forward to us speaking to what BGS was speaking to about neoliberalism, and how neoliberalism is both a Democrat and a Republican economic philosophy, right? Which includes laissez-faire economics, right? Which, for those of you that don't understand, is pretty much hands-off economics, right? You mix that with also austerity measures, right? And that's about choking out the working and middle classes and disciplining them. Once again, I want to emphasize the word disciplining them. There's a recent book written by, what's her name? Is it Christine Martine? I want to say that's her first name, but she speaks about this, and she speaks about how the fact that the old heads, so how these things, as they continue, right? People get more obscure with the language, and they start to cover up why they're doing the things they're doing, or why they're participating in the things they're participating in. But when you go back in time, they were straight up about it. Much like, when you hear people say, "Oh, the South did secede for slaves," and then you actually go read the secession papers, which Mr. Z did, and all the Southern states said, "Yeah, we try to maintain this Southern way of life, and Black people need to be slaves." But you let a white Southerner tell it now, nope, it had nothing to do with slavery. That's not what the Southern states were saying, right? So just like what I'm saying is neoliberalism is the same thing. Austerity measures, the same thing. Now we're trying to tighten up our belt, and we don't, want to run into debt and fiscal responsibility for the entire nation. And you rewind some decades, and the economists were admitting, yeah, austerity is about choking out the middle class, right? Exactly, better use states' rights. Exactly. Right? Yeah, the economists admitted, yeah, austerity is about choking out the middle class and disciplining them. Straight up. Right? Oh, okay. Okay. Makes sense. Right? I also spoke about school choice. It's about privatizing schools, and how charter schools is a slow creep to that, and how charter schools don't actually last that long. Right? We also spoke about teaching black children. And how do you teach black children about slavery and Jim Crow? And what Larry Elder is concerned about is not actually teaching an accurate history of slavery and Jim Crow, but of making sure that the history doesn't get black children to not want to work hard. Are you serious? And giving them a victim mentality. Oh boy. Right? Huh. Teaching black children not to be victims, and he didn't, those weren't his words, but he did say he doesn't want to teach these black children not to work hard, which is exactly what Ben Shapiro was saying to Ezra Klein like 4 years ago. Right? As I said before, this is not only about, white children not feeling shame for what their ancestors participated in and encouraged over a century ago, up until about the 1970s, yesterday. But also, this is about getting black children to not really understand why they're situated, excuse me, in this socioeconomic ladder, why they're situated where they are as a group, not as individuals, but as a group. Why black people are situated where they are. Right? Once again, Larry Elder straight up lied about California schools. Straight up lied about them being the worst public schools. That's a lie. Straight lie. He lied by omission about Haiti. As a Haitian, I could tell you straight up, American interventionism is how Haiti got to where it is. From the French on up. The Monroe Doctrine. How many times has America been in Haiti? And the way it's looking right now, the previous president's assassination leads right back to America, allegedly. Allegedly. Right? Larry Elder admits that this campaign is about spreading this particular propaganda. And he doesn't care as long as a Republican wins. He pretty much admits that. Right? He also admits to being a MAGA candidate. His words. Thank you, Nuke. Woodrow Wilson sent Marines into Haiti in the 1920s, and they stayed for a while. Right? No, that's actually true. That's actually true, by the way. And better use is worst public schools got to be Alabama or Mississippi. No, that's like a fact. I can't remember which one it was because it was covered. I want to say, what's his name? John Oliver covered this years ago, and it was one of those states. I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Alabama, but it could have been Mississippi. But like, so you're saying that, and it's like actually true. Better you, right? So Larry Elder lied by omission about Haiti when he mentioned Haitian migrants wanting to come to America. Yeah, American interventionism. Right? What they say, can't beat them, then join them. Right? When Larry Elder spoke about, in no other nation can you make it from nothing to something faster than America. That's not actually so true anymore. Right? That's not so true anymore. Even Dr. Richard Reese spoke about this in his book Dream Hoarders, right? And when he was going on the circuit, or doing the interviews for the book years ago, he spoke about that, how Britain had more of a chance of upward mobility from one class to another class. And remember, Britain is still a literal monarchy, and you were more likely to be able to traverse upwards in class than in America, right? I think it's called dimorphism, but I'm not 100% sure. Like the ability to move up and down classes. Their elders also says, I don't vote for tax and spend liberals. Meanwhile, but Senior literally said, read my lips, no new taxes, and taxes went up under his administration. Fact. Fact. I also mentioned that this is a class argument and that Larry Elder is the child of a small business owner, so his particular worldview is skewed. And you find this oftentimes with the children, grandchildren, and maybe even great grandchildren of small business owners in the Black community, and how their telling of Jim Crow era Black history and the telling of just about everybody else who doesn't usually get a microphone, and their telling of Jim Crow era Black America. And the children, grandchildren, and now great grandchildren of small business owners give an account. Like, I mean, yeah, there was racism and anti-blackness, but it was, I mean, like, the problem with Black people is that they had this inferiority complex, and they were too busy trying to be accepted by white folks, right? That's the issue. It had nothing to do with all this other stuff. I mean, Jim Crow wasn't that bad, like, was it? It wasn't that bad. I mean, my dad owned a tire shop, or my granddad owned a tire shop, right? What Tony Baker said, we owned it. My great granddad owned a haberdashery, right? And when those people talk, they talk completely different than just about everybody else who grandfather and grandmother spoke to them about what it used to really be like in 1935, 1940, 1945. Yes, okay, Don. I'm just, going through some thoughts right now. Ha, giggity, right? So it's important that we cover these things a bit accurately. And I'm about to close out. We're getting to an hour and a half. I know Art New Style is streaming. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, or thank you button on the way out. And I'm, like I said, I'm gonna cover this again, most likely as BGS maybe does a part two, and definitely after Green Gorilla covers his, and gives his commentary on the matter. And I think it's important that I really want to stress this. I don't want this to split the Black manosphere. I said this earlier. I said this since what, last year, that election season is heating up, and we're gonna watch as people start to pick their sides, and it's gonna get real combative in the Black manosphere. It's gonna get real serious in the Black manosphere as people start to pick sides. I want us to be careful. I'm not telling anyone who to vote for. I'm not telling anyone how to think or what to think about. right? And be mindful of who you're voting for and what they stand for. And read in between the lines as best you can. Because I think that is sorely lacking. We talk about financial literacy a lot in the Black community, right? We speak about financial literacy a lot in the Black community, a lot, right? And being fiscally responsible. That's not the words we use, but financial literacy. And no one speaks about being politically aware or astute. No one. Like no one. It's a couple of policy wonks, right? And kind of amateur watchers of politics and watching debates and who are subscribed to all these political shows online, history shows online. Shout out to Better You, right? Shout out to to Zulu, AB Media, BGS. You know, it's a handful of us, but everyone else. Do you know when you're being insulted? Do you know when somebody say, "By the way, I become president, I'm gonna rip the rug from under you"? Right? Something to consider. Right? So on that note, you know, y'all like, share, subscribe on the way out. We'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, right? And y'all have a great rest of y'all night. Like I said, I think Art New Style is streaming right now, so y'all go check him out. And all right, everyone, Mr. Z out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all night.